All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Thursday Live with Ali and Charlie from Ninja Gym Academy. Today, we're going to be talking about how franchising could kill your ninja business. And so, today's topic is as a whole, we're going to be talking about ninja franchises and the opportunities that lie there, why you should or shouldn't go into a ninja franchise while I'm getting my things technically set up here. So, without further ado, let's do a brief history really quickly on Ninja and how we kind of got to this point. So, for those who aren't familiar, the Ninja Warrior show is built off of or based off of the ninja show that came out of Japan. It's now known as Sasuke. I grew up watching it as Ninja Warrior. It started over there as kind of like a joke. The Japanese have a lot of shows like that are, I don't know if you guys ever watched Japanese game shows, but fun fact, they tend to be kind of outrageous like that. So it started off kind of as a joking show. There was definitely some serious obstacles, but there's nothing to the level of depth and complexity that you would see today. And from there, it kind of took off. I think from that point, people started to see it as more and more serious. And so the creators of the show began to lean into that identity, although they never fully got rid of the jokiness of it because they would bring on all kinds of different characters for entertainment value. And it was a good time and it was a fun show to watch. So I grew up watching this show on an old channel called G4 TV. Some of you may know that. So from there, what happens is it actually transitions into the States and begins gaining in serious popularity. I don't know what season they're going on now. I stopped watching the show years ago, but needless to say, it took off and became a cult hit. And then from there, you started to see gyms beginning to open up to train initially for the show. And then from there, you had enough gyms start to sprout up that you had leagues that began to form. And the ninja community has continued to grow ever since. And the hope is that it eventually one day gets to the point where it's entirely dependent on itself. It doesn't need a show or anything like that to popularize it. I would make the argument that it's at that point now, but some may disagree, and that's all fine and well. Why is this all relevant? This is relevant because from a franchising standpoint, the question is often asked, is Ninja a franchise? And the answer is yes and no. There are franchises within Ninja, but Ninja itself is not a franchise. And so what that means for you as an owner is, I'm going to tell you guys, we'll tip the hand right away. Ali and I are big advocates against franchising. We initially thought that we were going to go that direction and build a business that way. But in my opinion, especially like we strive with Ninja Gym Academy to give the resources of a franchise without the cons of a franchise. And I think that has become a massive trend in a lot of different industries. And so Ninja is no different from that. Now, that being said, I want to represent some of the strong suits of franchising, and Ali, I'll hand it off to you here in a moment. But in my opinion, why I would franchise is because maybe I have just a want to come from, maybe I have a background in accounting, let's say. And so I want to move from accounting into opening up a ninja-based business because I think that there's a future there, which you would be right. There is a future in service-based businesses like Ninja Gyms. And so what you want is you just want a turnkey solution. You don't want to control the brand. You don't really want to control a whole lot. Like what your primary concern is having something to invest your money into and then have that investment return your cash in a varied form. And so I think that that's where the franchise is a great option for people like that who want to be completely really hands off with the business. They want turnkey solutions. They want to just hire people. They want to just run the program from afar, maybe just even see a check from it. They're not really interested in having an active role in the direction and the future of the business. So I think that that's who the franchise appeals for. Who the franchise doesn't appeal for is everyone who doesn't fall into that category. Ali, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's some good reasons of why you would want to choose the franchise of, like you said, of like the ample amount of resources. Maybe they don't have the experience in Ninja. Maybe they're just getting their feet wet and wanting something that's like a pre-packaged solution. But like you said, I think that there are definitely some cons that come with it. A couple of them being, one size doesn't fit all, right? Of traditional franchises, they kind of offer very little wiggle room with the branding, the messaging, the marketing, especially with people that are, transitioning into becoming a small business owner, being able to put their own fingerprint, their own brand, their own type of messaging and core values out to the community. I feel like that's one of those cons of like you don't have the ability to do that with traditional franchises. They also do things like trapping some people in contracts, right? As soon as you start with that
Mhm.
franchise, there's no really moving away from that brand, and sometimes those contracts can be predatorial on the brand of high percentages of revenue that you're giving to the franchisee owner. So, not to say that all franchisees are bad ones, but most of the time you're going to find yourself in a contract of some sort that maybe you don't necessarily want to be in. One other thing is, you are attached to that brand and attached to that identity. And when these big brands stumble, or let's say that they have some controversy come in, it might not even be anywhere relevant to your location, but just because it's attached to that particular brand, big franchises, they might seem safe, but what happens when they actually face controversy? Right. Your individual gym's reputation might be affected by that as well.
Yeah, and the franchise model itself may be built on a rocky foundation in terms of what they're asking you to do. Just because they've had success in a few markets, right, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have success in your market. For example, if I have a successful franchise where I run a 20,000 square foot ninja gym and you want to bring that franchise to your town of 10,000 people, you're going to have a really challenging time having that level of success in that size of a town. Now, I want to be very, very clear with this. It's not that I don't think you could be successful with a ninja program anywhere. I think you could be successful with a ninja program anywhere. But the size of the program, I think, is definitely directly correlated to how large your town is, your market is. And so if I go in and I open up a 20,000 square foot franchise in a small city or in a small town, I'm probably not going to have the customer base required to reach the level of profit that was promised to me from some of these other locations. And so I think that that's another big piece, that if I'm looking at franchises or not franchising, and should I go with this direction with Ninja or should I go with that direction, especially if you're in a small town, I think you should do your own thing, go small, and get the resources you need. Ali and I are not the only resource out there, okay? And these lives are meant to be of value to you guys to help inform you on making the good decisions, okay? Now, we strive to be the best option that's available to you, but we're not the only option. And the reason I bring that up is because if you open up a gym in a small town, or in any town in general, there are resources available to you. Some of the pros of going to a franchise would be things like marketing packaging, right? Like maybe you hate marketing. You're like, I cannot stand it. I want Facebook posts and emails and websites. I want all that stuff just sent to me, okay? Or maybe you have a need for structured systems. You're like, I don't know anything about how to structure the classes. I don't know anything about what to charge, how to set up the equipment, what the equipment should look like, what's the color scheme, what's the safety matting, all these questions that surround this particular business model. You want a turnkey solution. You want to be able to just plug in the money, turn the key, and get more money coming out of the backside. That's where franchises are going to be incredibly powerful for someone like that. But if you want to have the flexibility to move away from that, to maybe change the model, to adapt the model, to move and change pieces of the model, you are going to be stuck. You're going to be very stuck. And we've had plenty of conversations with some franchises in Ninja. I will not name names, but I will say that the conversations I've had with the owners is that's exactly how they describe it. They feel totally stuck in that the franchise model is what's failing them, and it's failing to be creative because in a market where things change, you need to be able to adapt with it. And if the franchise doesn't adapt with it, then you're going to be locked in with this old sucky franchise model that forces you to do things in a manner that is, we'll say, inefficient. Okay. And so I want to give you guys an open eye towards why one would want to go into franchising, but also why we think going into franchising is ultimately a bad idea. If you ask me, I would say 9 out of 10 times it is a bad idea, because you're going to make more money, have more fun, and have more freedom if you go and you do your own thing. But again, there's a very small percentile of people to where if they do go that direction, it probably will be the better option for them.
Yeah, and the other option that we're talking about is really like program licensing, right? Which is getting all of the perks of a franchise, of the lesson plans and the done for you systems and the done for you marketing packages, and of things, but without having to track in a revenue contract, without having to, have a brand forced on your identity, and not being able to have that flexibility to change. So that licensing option definitely gives you guys more flexibility, but still gives you all of the perks of a franchise model that you are able to then carry forwards with, and then adapt when situations change, when markets shift, and you need to be able to pivot and shift with those things. You have the flexibility to do that.
Yeah. And ideally, you get the best of both worlds when you run it on your own, especially with the advent of the internet and all the resources that it makes available to you. If you go in and you say, okay, I'm going to just do my own thing, the downside is that, like, I have to start from scratch. Well, at Ninja Gym Academy, you could say one of our goals is essentially to give you the resources of a franchise without the cons of a franchise, to give you as many pros as we possibly can without the cons. We're not going to come in and ask for a percentile of your profits. That's not what we're doing here. Okay. Yes, we are going to ask to be paid. That's up front. It's just done, out of the way. Okay. Just simple business transaction. Both sides get it. But ultimately, our goal is to give you all those things that you would get with a franchise without having to deal with the franchise aspect. And maybe you say something to the effect of, like, that sounds too good to be true. Well, it used to be, but now it's not. With the advent of technology, the internet, with all these capabilities that we have, with AI coming down the pipe, it allows organizations like ours to create so many strong, powerful resources for you guys to come in, and we share with you proven methodologies of how to build a program, how to build a system, how to build a structure, how to build your class schedule, so that you guys can walk in and effectively execute, but then also have the freedom. Like, our goal is to give you a knowledge nugget, as it were, so that you could have the freedom to then go operate with that and change it if you see fit. Okay. If you think, hey, this is going to be a better direction for me, I'm going to take what worked here and I want to go this direction with it, then that's what I want to do. And that's the benefit of not being locked into a franchise, because you have the freedom to begin experimenting. And God forbid, there's a little bit of risk with that. So if you kind of like, hey, that wasn't such a good direction for me, you can always walk it back and go, you know what, I'm going to just go back to this tried and true method, this tried and true model, stick with that. Ali and I, in our history, we have had many masterminds that we've been in. We've paid people to teach us the secrets of business and yada, yada, yada. And we're still students to this day. But what has been so effective about some of those lessons has been our ability to take that lesson and then translate it over into our specific situation. And the more we've done that, the better off we've been. And so ultimately, what I'm saying to you guys is that if you feel that you're getting that value from something, then it is incredibly powerful to have the freedom to change. If you feel like you have an aspect of the business that's working really, really well, like for example, for us, it was kids classes, right? And our advisors at the time told us to get rid of those. Well, they didn't quite understand the opportunity that we had available to us, but nonetheless, they gave us advice and wisdom at the time that made sense once we translated into our specific situation properly, which was focus on one thing. They just thought we were focusing on the wrong thing, which turns out we were focusing on too many things. We just started focusing on the kids class thing, and then lo and behold, starts crushing it for us. So ultimately, that would not have been capable or available to us had we been a part of a franchise. We would have been locked in and just been like hammering our head against the system and doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that infuriates me personally, because I want the freedom to pivot, to shift, to change, and ultimately to modify the business in a way that I think is going to better work. Ali, anything to add to that?
I was thinking about, like, what's the old saying of, like, you teach a man to fish, or you give a man a fish, he's gonna be fed for a day, and you teach a man to fish, and he'll be fed for the rest of his life. And so that's kind of what we're trying to get at is, we're trying to teach you how to fish. We're not trying to give you the fish. And that's what I feel like franchise models are kind of doing. They're just giving you the fish, and that's only going to feed you for a day. So we want to feed you for your whole life and teach you how to fish. If you guys are interested in opening up a ninja program, if you want more resources and tools on what you can do in your classes, we did just relaunch our Facebook group. And so this is going to be focused really on the tips and tricks of ninja classes, how to run them, activities, things that you guys can run as like workshops, all types of cool ideas, as well as the business principles to back it. If you guys want access to that group, we're only taking a limited amount of people. So comment ninja below on this video, and I will send you guys the invite so you guys can get all of those cool things that we'll be coming out with in our Facebook group.
Awesome. So comment Ninja below, and then we'll send you guys the invite into that group. And then also note that we'll be live here each Thursday at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time or thereabouts. I know we were a little bit late today, but sometime around that window every week, doing a live on the topics that we're releasing. And be on the lookout for our website to go live here very soon with blogs and further resources on these particular details, so that we can continue to arm you guys with the information you need to be successful Ninja business owners. So in the interim, God bless. We'll see you guys next week at 11 a.m. right here on Allie's Profile. See you later.